You can WhatsApp us, you can text message us, and then we'll have your questions. Tonight we are starting a new topic, and in this month we are going to be discussing this. Subsequently, we would open the phone lines, but today we'll read text messages and live messages coming on Facebook and on YouTube. But this month we are starting with communication in marriage. Communication in marriage. Human beings are beings that communicate. We have a higher sense, and we communicate either by our actions or by our words, by sign language, whatever. Whoever we are, we still communicate. And want to touch that. It's an essential theme or topic in marriage, and can be a huge challenge. Every marriage that starts to have communication issues. But this evening we have panelists in the house to help us to break this down and to help give you some solutions if you're having problems in this area. So communication in marriage. Please, what is communication in marriage? I know you may have it from a more experiential point of view. You may have it probably a definition for us. But what is communication in marriage? So, Pastor Hilary, let me start with you this evening.
Well, communication in marriage is basically the interaction that happens between the man and the wife, the husband and the wife. And in that interaction, they communicate, they share their thoughts, their ideas, their feelings, their perceptions, their hearts. They're able to communicate that with each other. So that's what I would say, basically, communication in marriage is.
I would simply say that communication in marriage is the man and the woman talking, conversing, sharing their likes and dislikes, talking about everything that it's about them and their environment, about them and their future, about them and their now, about them. Just open conversation, talking, and just interacting with each other. I want to make it simple. I want to make it homely, because that is what we do. We talk, we converse. We talk about our ideas, we talk about ourselves, our future. So basically, to break down what Pastor Hilary said, that is what I want to say.
I think a lot have been said so far, but the communication, like she said, maybe sometimes go beyond the words, because he mentioned our life, our ideas, even sometimes even our feelings. And so it could be verbal sometimes, and my feelings can be communicated. And at other times it could be non-verbal, but you can get the message that I'm telling you something. And that's why I would say communication is an art that has to be learned. If you're going to marry and succeed in marriage and live with a person and live happily with a person, then you must learn how to talk, communicate, exchange thoughts and ideas with that person. Sometimes even an eye connection can give you the message, because you've been doing this for a while. So I think that a lot has been said. I just want a bit to it.
Okay. Why is it important? Why is communication? Can't I live without it in my marriage? Sometimes one party wants to communicate the others. Why is it important, Reverend Ankuma?
Communication is important because marriage is a relationship. And any relationship in this world, you and God, it thrives on communication. Because in the marriage, these are two people. We are going to live together. We are going to do things together. How do we do things without communicating? How do we live in a house without communicating? If you have cooked food for your husband, there is a way to tell him that food is ready. That's communication. If in the night you want to go on the throne, there is a way to let the other person know that I want things to happen. So everything we do as married couple hangs on communication. Without communication, I don't think there can be what we call marriage. How do you live together and you say we are married and we don't talk. I don't think it does it. So even when communication says a problem, it only means that it is not enough, not that it doesn't exist. Because you can't have a relationship without communication. So communication is very, very, because the lifeblood of the relationship.
I would say that communication is created, I would even say created by God. Because you have to express something, your mind, your heart, to another living being. We at times even communicate with our animals, the dogs in our home. And every living thing communicates. God said, let us make man in our own image. So he was communicating to us. We communicate to God. God communicates to us. So as human beings, communication is part of us. Even those who don't have the speech, they use sign language. Those who don't see, they have a way of communicating. So communication is very important with humans or with living beings.
And just to add, just to stretch that a little further, in Ephesians 5, when we look at marriage, marriage is a reflection of the relationship Christ has with the church. And if Christ communicates with the church, Christ communicates with his children, how much more us? So it's something that we cannot do with communication. As long as we relate with humankind, as long as we relate with even God, there must be that link, that connection. In fact, if you remember the Tower of Babel, what did God touch? It was the communication line. Because it's such an important pillar, when you talk about marriage.
If I would just add a piece, we are human beings. God created us speaking spirits. And it's of importance to know that sometimes everybody's interpretation is in the head. The door bangs. Your interpretation of that is in your head. Until that is explained, you may conclude on what is in your head. If I can't have sex, like my big man
on the throne.
If you do not explain, somebody would conclude. That's why it's necessary for us to have even times where we sit down and connect in our communication. If we don't talk often, if we don't sit down often to know what we are saying and how we say it, we will not even understand ourselves with good communication. It is said that communication is a live wire of any relationship. I will take it further and say good communication is a live wire. Because we can be married and we might be talking and we may be blaming each other. Anytime I talk, I'm pointing a fault. Anytime you talk, you are disrespecting me. We are talking, but we're not talking well. So I think that communication is vital, because if I don't tell you why I came late, you conclude that this is the reason why I came, and it could muddy the waters. Yeah.
So how would you've handled many couples who probably have had different problems, including communication. How would a home without communication look like with the couples you have counseled? How does a home without, because you find someone who talks, somebody would say it's very easy for someone who talks to communicate. And you have someone who is quiet, who probably says a few words a day and feels like, I don't want to talk. Why do you want me to say everything I want to do? How does a home without communication, how would it look like?
I wouldn't say, I would say how would a home with bad communication?
Okay, bad. Okay.
Because just sitting down, not saying it is communicating.
That's right.
Silence.
Silence.
Silence is communicating. If I'm angry, perhaps the way I communicate is to excuse my face. I haven't said anything, but I'm talking a lot. But just my facial expression and the way I look and that kind of thing. See, so a home with bad communication, normally is ready for trouble, because either they will not enjoy the communication. There are different kinds of a marriage. There's a marriage where there is love, there is satisfaction, there's fulfillment. And that cannot be without good communication. There's a marriage where they are enduring each other. They are there, they are roommates. And then there's not much happening. But that one also, there is communication, but the communication is not good, it's bad. And when the communication is very, very poor, the marriage is ready to break up. You see? So a marriage with bad communication is that one where either the communication is poisonous, like a bishop was saying, you are complaining, you are cursing, you are blaming people, or they talk to you, you don't listen. How is it? Fine. I let him go. Okay. Oh, it was all right. Is there anything wrong? No, nothing wrong. Are you okay? I'm okay. I mean, something like the other person will immediately react. Okay, if you don't want to talk, okay, go and sleep. You sleep, you know. But the sleep itself is communication. It means that I don't want to bother me. When people sleep together, one is sleeping here, one is sleeping there. You can't say they're not communicating. They are communicating. They are telling you that I don't like you to touch me. So communication, it's whatever it exists, but in any relation. But whether it's good communication or bad communication, that's what made a difference.
And some would even say, you know, my husband doesn't speak to me. He doesn't express himself to me, you know, or this is what is happening. We don't sit and talk. I don't even know what is going on, you know, at the workplace, or what is happening with the relatives and all of that. So it brings a lot of frustrations, serious frustrations. And you know, when you communicate, you are going somewhere. Because when you communicate, you get to understand each other. You get to know a little more about the person. You get to understand certain dynamics. But when you're not doing anything at all, it frustrates you. It's like you're stagnating. There's no movement at all. And that can end up to a breakage, you know. And I also feel that there is that strong piece, the emotional connection. When they are not communicating, it shows that there is no emotional connection. Because when there is emotional connection, you want to engage. You want to say, when your wife says, oh, I'm not feeling well today. I woke up and I'm feeling this way. Even though you are going to work, you want to leave for work. You stop. You sit by your wife. You say, what happened? Can I take you to the doctor? Or can you take some medication at home? Or can I do something to help before I leave? It shows that you have empathized because there is some emotional connection there. But when you are not communicating at all of that is missing. And when all of that is missing, then the relationship gets dry and dry and dry and dry, and nothing is there. That gives that oomph.
I would call that communication breakdown. Something led to the communication breakdown. And that is some of the things that we ignore or we overlook. You see, if we don't tackle the source of the communication breakdown, what we are calling the bad communication, I don't think that people had bad communication before they married. Mm-hmm. Yes, there was good conversation. They were having communication. They were sharing ideas. Things was happening before they decided to marry. So along the line in the marriage, something might have happened to break the communication, to make the communication bad. So these are some of the things we have to look out for. What is the cause of the communication breakdown? And I think that there's a question like that we'll tackle.
If you see, like you said, we wouldn't be married if we're not communicating, some way of communicating. Having said that, there are people too who they find it difficult to talk, to express themselves. And if the person is very lacks expression in courtship, when we get married, it could be worse. Because in courtship, we didn't live together. We only met when we prepare to meet and we plan, coming to make it work. But in the whole...
Lack expression. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the person is a quiet person.
Okay.
It's even difficult for him to say, I love you. I mean, you know. Sometimes maybe let somebody go to say it for him. I mean, so even to say I'm sorry, it will take 3 weeks to say I'm sorry. And to say I'm sorry, he thinks that when it comes to argue, I said it. Another person to want to hear, I am sorry. So we are communicating from different understandings. That if you are sorry, you say it, and then you change. Somebody to think that when I change my attitude towards you, maybe we're all quiet, but now I'm coming to greet you. I'm giving you a cup of water. I'm telling you that I'm sorry, and you should understand. If we do not have a lot of time together, we will not develop this. Generally, they say men don't talk much. Men are the same. They thinking
More thinkers. Yes, they're thinkers.
And women are more verbal beings. So, and somebody said communication is a love need for a woman. And so if the man generally is not a talker, and now he marries, and there's pressure on him, he becomes more quieter. A little pressure, he goes in his corner. And the woman expects someone to talk to her, and the man is not forthcoming. But that's why I'm saying that in the art of marriage, we should be schooling to learn on the way. So what we didn't know, we can learn to do it better. And if we come into it with what we thought was, it could be totally wrong. Totally wrong.
We have to unlearn some of the things we have brought into the marriage, we have come into the marriage with, and learn the new habits, learn the new communication, tips,
So, Pastor Hilary, you mentioned that some people would say, my husband doesn't talk to me, he doesn't sit down with me, he doesn't even tell me what happens at work. Why does that happen? Why would a man do that? Is it that was his nature before marriage? And so why would
it can be a number of things. It can be a cultural thing. It doesn't say much. Comes from the home. A home, they don't say much. They hardly speak, to each other. Maybe most of the time they're in front of maybe television, or when they want to have their sessions, they go as family members in their rooms and all of that. So they don't have that communal kind of thing where they can express themselves. It's also a temperamental thing, where you feel like the phlegmatic, the phlegmatic, the melancholic, very moody. You're not all the time, you don't have the penchant for a lot of talk, So it can happen because of some of these things. But when it does happen, that's where you have to work things out. So the wife needs to understand that my man is like this. Maybe this is his background. How can I help? So you begin small, engage. Try to engage the man. Begin conversations with the man and all of that. And you will see that gradually he's not used to that. To even have like 2 minutes conversation. But with you helping him out, he's beginning to learn how to get to do it. So it can be a cultural thing, it can be a temperamental thing, and yeah.
And I think that if people were going for counseling, then they would learn and unlearn some of these things. How can you just marry, you want somebody, and you say, I don't like talking. I talk only at a certain time. Definitely, if you talk at a certain time, I would also talk at a certain time. It is going to bring communication gap, communication breakdown. That is why Pastor Hilary said we should unlearn some of the things. We should be intentional about some of these things. We should know that this is part of marriage. The only way I can let somebody know about my thoughts, my feelings, my likes and dislikes, my way forward, is to tell that person. That is a form of a way of communicating. So you can't just say me, I don't like talking. I don't like, my disposition is I don't like talking. No. When you go for counseling, the counselor should be able to let you know that this is a no-go area in marriage. Your temperaments, if you are phlegmatic and melancholic, will not help. But that does not mean that I'm like this. We know our temperament, so that the good, the bad, our strengths can be more, and our weaknesses can be developed into strengths. That is why we learn temperament. So if we are not very good at talking, we should learn how to talk with our spouse.
Can I add something?
Oh, pardon.
Can I add something?
Yes, yes.
Somebody had come to me and said, Pastor, I don't understand. My wife, she talks too much. I thought he even has unnecessary questions. And I say, I mean, you want to marry a woman. Women interpret we talking as showing love. One of the way that a woman will say that the woman say, oh, he's there for me. When one say he's there for me, what does it mean? He has time to listen to me. Yeah, when I have a need, he has time to find out what is it and make sure that that need is met. And that thing is done by communication. For a woman, when we come from work, part of for a good marriage, there should be time to, oh, how was work? Everything was fine. Even when he say how was work, he doesn't want fine. Oh, when I was going, these Uber people, what? And when I go to work too, oh, that man I told you about, oh, he also did. That process is showing that you love your wife. That's how they interpret it. Having time to talk about the details of your work. So if a woman will say, my husband doesn't talk, when he comes and in our counseling book, a lady was asking a question. So, Pastor, can you imagine? This man went for a 5-day trip. And when I asked him, he said, not bad. Can you imagine? 5 days, and he said, not bad. You see, he wanted almost every day of the 5 days, he wanted to find out what happened. And when you do that for her, to her, you are showing love. You are showing concern. You are there for her. So the men should understand, men especially, should understand that women love to talk. That's how they were made. That's their makeup. You can't do anything about it. So if you go and marry a woman, be ready to answer unnecessary questions. You think it's unnecessary. To you, it's unnecessary. But to her,
Answer questions.
Answer questions.
Yes.
Remember I just say she begs to differ.
It's not unnecessary questions.
You think it's unnecessary, but to them it's very, very necessary.
you see, just to add to that, and that is learned after years of studies to know that women wants to. One of the loveliness of a woman is a communicating companion. Somebody who engage her, make her laugh, make her happy. So if you are that cut in your corner type, you may use something else to win her, but in that union, you'll be a pain. Bible says in Deuteronomy, when a man takes a wife, he should go off work. That's it, 1 year or so. And cheer the wife up. That means that talk to her, engage her, make her feel happy after you marry. So if that's what I'm saying, we must compromise. You don't like talking, but you are married now. Learn how to talk. You also talk too much. You are married now. The man is also, so manage to also step down a little bit. Then we are all looking for the equilibrium to move on. And let us also be mindful to create the atmosphere for good talk in the home. If every time we talk, somebody must feel like you lost. You are wrong. Criticism, accusation, fault finding. Anytime we engage, when we are coming together, somebody is withdrawing. Puts up a facade. So we should be able to make communication more like lively, where we begin with maybe things ourselves, and then when we go to thorny areas, we manage it well. Otherwise, we kill our relationship with our own style of communication.
So if you're watching us live on Ask the Counsellors. We are having a discussion on communication in marriage and cuts across relationships as well. If you have any questions as the counsellors and panelists have been speaking, you want to send them to us. And this evening, you are watching us on Precious Television, KFM TV, on Facebook or on YouTube. You may also be watching our repeat program. But please do well to send us your messages. We still get them. The number to send your messages to, either via WhatsApp or text message, is 020-343-8710. 020-343-8710. If you're watching from outside Ghana, the country code is +233 20-343-8710. And Bishop Akun, you mentioned something about where a man or one partner is angry and is expecting the other to say sorry. The other wants to hug because hugging means sorry. What it means that they are speaking on different wavelengths, even though they are communicating. How do I make sure that I'm communicating on the same wavelength with my spouse or with my fiancé or my boyfriend or girlfriend? How do I do that? How do I make sure that I'm understanding how my partner wants to be spoken to or related to?
For me, the medicine will be communication. If we don't do it often, I wouldn't know how to tailor my communication to you. But if we do it often, I know that when I said, "Oh, let's forget about it," it didn't communicate for. I'm sorry. Because we talk freely, you can tell me you have not apologized. Then I will know that that's not the way I work it out with you. And so over 5 years, over 10 years, you must know. If you regularly, maybe every Sunday evening, you sit down and chat. And maybe before you go to bed, 20 minutes of chatting, you could be bridging this gap. So you know what I'm happy smile looks like. What I am angry smile looks like. What is okay means when my face tells you it's okay. So you've done it over and over, so you know that just the saying I'm okay doesn't mean I'm okay. So for me, frequency and doing it and asking questions, because I think that the law of verification is, if you don't understand something, ask. So find out, what does it mean to you? It looks like what happened the other day is still lingering on. There's still a Cold War going on in this house. When I hugged you, didn't you accept it? Didn't you accept as forgiveness? Then she will tell you that's not forgiveness. Because from where I come from, if you forgive, you ask. If you want to be forgiven, you ask for forgiveness. So for me, it is the frequency, the regularity of doing it that will make us know each other. And I think long years in marriage should help us to know each other better and communicate better. I don't know whether I answered the question.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like also, I just want to add to what Bishop has said. There needs to be that listening, that intentional listening. Somebody has said you have also to listen with your eyes.
And
because she says, okay, I have apologized, or gives a hug, but you look at the person and you know the person has not moved, has not budged. You know that, oh no, I think I need to try something else. But again, we must listen to each other. We must keep talking. We must keep saying the things that, if you're in the relationship, oh, I like when you apologize to me. If you've done something wrong, I don't want you to be beating around the bush. I want you to come straight and apologize. Then you have communicated something to your spouse. And maybe she would say to you, okay, I want you to listen. When I'm talking, just listen to me. Don't butt in. Don't just be saying things. Listen to me. And then after, we can talk about the feelings, we can talk about the attitudes, we can talk about all of that, and then resolve the matter. So once you get to that level of understanding, you would see that you will now be on the same wavelength, wherein when the person does A to you, you know that this is what he does when he has he has apologized, or he's sorry for the thing that he's done. So there must be that understanding, and it takes time. It takes time, spending time with your spouse. It's not just 1 minute, 2 minutes. It's intentional. For some people, I know some people who plan their lives in such a way, before they sleep, like 1 hour before the sleep or 15 minutes before the sleep. They down everything. They down phones, they down everything. They sit by themselves and they just talk. That's what we need. When we keep talking like that, we get to that level where we understand each other. So when you say A, I understand your A. When you say B, I understand.
Okay. So I think we would go into a more personal level. In your marriage, is it a daily thing? Do you make it an intentional thing? Every day I must speak to my husband or I must speak to my wife. Are there days where you feel like I don't want to talk, or your partner feels like I don't want to talk? How do you handle situations like that?
Oh, me, I do it every day.
Okay.
I do it every day, every day. My wife goes to town. I would be in the office. I would be busy, but I realize, oh, she has gone to town. Let me just check on her. So I'll call. So what are you doing? How is everything? Are you okay? Is everything fine? Because maybe sometimes car problems. You want to know all of that. She travels, I will find out, oh, how are you doing? And it has become so part of us that when she travels with like her friends, they would say, your husband, he calls you all the time, oh, we are jealous. They feel bad, and they're angry with their own husbands to say, oh, they don't even bother, they don't call us. Well, look at you, they call twice a day, he calls twice a day, But it's part of our lives. Even just going to town, I would check on her. I would go to some place, she would check on me. We do that. We send text messages to each other. So it is intentional. When I get off from work, I go home, and then she's done with her sewing. She does fashion and design. She comes in, said, okay, now it's our time. We sit together, and we start chatting, talking about I will talk about my work, I will talk about things that are happening. And so it's an intentional thing that we have been doing all these years.
Reverend
for
Ajo,
many years.
how does it work for you?
Just the same way. I mean, there is no day that we don't talk. There's no day that we don't have a conversation. It's like even coming here, it has to be said at least 3 days to the time. So it's like he knows that I have to go at this time, and so as I'm sitting here, he's watching. When I get home, it's like this one was not said right. You should have said this, that. And so
he's watching over you.
He's watching, and we stay on our phone. My children will say that we are social media people. But we sit together, and even on our media, it's like, look at what I am looking at. Look at what I'm seeing. So even there, he will be posting me some of the things that on WhatsApp, sending me some of the things that he is looking at. So there's no day that you can't. You get home and it's like until recently, you get home and he's waiting for you, even from us, the counselors, he's waiting at the gate. And when he's in town or I'm in town, WhatsApps. And if you don't do it a day, like you go to work and you don't even communicate, it's like, I will pray I am fret.
Is there a time when it's too much, probably, where the checking up gets too much?
At times it gets too much on me. I say, at times you want to, I'm a reader. So at times you want to read. You want to read, but it's like, put that thing down, let's talk.
Okay.
Me too, when I am talking, at times I don't listen to him, but when I am talking, I want him to listen to me. Oh, at times I get angry. When I'm talking to you, you have to look into my face. That is communication. Eyeball to eyeball. So look at
That's
me.
a woman for
Look at me and tell me what, and give me feedback. So it's a daily thing.
How does it work? How does it work for you?
We talk, but not as frequently. All of us grew up from a background where you never saw mommy and daddy really having those kind of conversations. So we grew up with them. We became Christian married, and realized that we communicate. Up to today, my wife things that when you are who don't talk. When you are outside, then you talk. and so consciously, I make time, like close. If it's maybe in the room, stay around some time, ask questions. I intentionally do that. But
so it's not something that if we allow it, time will allow it to get better, like they say. You know, it's something you must intentionally decide.
Sure. Something you must intentionally do. Something you intentionally do. Because like I said, at times it's not, there are people who are quiet by themselves. I'm that type. Most of the time that I'm home, perhaps I'm reading something, listening to tape and like that kind of thing. And at times he's talking and I have this, what that's why he doesn't like at all. When you are listening to a tape and there's something on your ear, because he thinks that with this thing in your ears, when I talk, can you even hear?
So you take one. What if you take one out? You listen at it. It's passion.
You see, so we talk. I mean, when we travel, but it's not that. Their own is higher than ours.
All right. So Bishop Ako, let's hear from you, and then I'll bring some of our questions from our viewers.
For me, what I saw my father do from the growing up, you could see my father anytime he comes home, Abnawe, I mean like that, you know, like we didn't exist, you know? And then you go and talk a little bit before you go to do anything. I realized that when my mother goes to women fellowship, there will be no men fellowship. But by the time the women fellowship closed, my father will be standing at the door and they will walk home. So growing up for me, I realized that I also come home. The first person I call it re-entry.
Okay.
You went out, you have come back, reconnect. Is the woman. Look for a rub her back, say a word, how are you, something, before you go into, because like you said, when you go into the room, maybe you go into something you have to prepare for the evening. So connect quickly. In our early days, we try, because we do the ministry together, when we are going, we go together. So we're talking. When we are coming, we'll come together. So it's not quite difficult for us. Then once a week, we try to go and sit somewhere and talk. You know, every Wednesday, we want to sit somewhere and talk. Sunday evening, we want to think about the week and the week ahead. So there are some things that we deliberately. And for me, it's the man's deliberate duty to make sure that whether you are happy or not, every day, do a connection.
I get it now.
Whether a call, if you travel, every day there must be a connection. A call, a WhatsApp. A call is better, so you hear the voice and know what it is. So,
why do you place the responsibility on the man? Is it because he's the head of the home, or because the woman must?
One, because he's the head of the home. Two, because the woman needs a communication to gel. It was God who comes down to say, Adam, where are you? And we play that role in the union. So I think that we should, whether we are happy, something happened in the morning, it didn't gel well with us or not, so do the right thing and make sure that when God comes, Adam will not be questioned. You do the right thing. So whether I'm checking on you, and she might think that maybe something happened so you wouldn't call. That would be a surprise, and that would build the marriage better. So I think that it should be intentional. It should be daily and intentional.
Doc, there are some men, they don't communicate, they don't talk, they don't check on their wives. They only give instructions. It is communication, all right, but it is not the right communication. Are you getting it? Do this. I asked you to do this. I asked you to go here. I asked you, you haven't reported to me when I sent you here. And the way you handle, you asked her to go and do something. But it's not like a command. So you...
Headmaster.
Your headmaster, boss. It's not supposed to be instructions.
So about checking up. So men are supposed to check up on their wives.
Yes, because
it's a two-way thing, but I'm saying if it's not happening, you the man initiate it.
And there are some men, if you the woman, you are checking on them like Pastor Hillary would do. It's like, why? Why are you spying on me? Are you stalking me every time? So the woman withdraws. Will never do it. And I have had so many occasions to hear this from women. he goes to work, he won't check on me, and he would come late. And when he comes late, he wants food, and after food, he wants food. Those are the only communication. It doesn't help in marriage.
Like the food on the table and the food on the bed.
Yes.
When the trust level, when the trust level is very weak,
Yes.
that happens. There's no self-confidence, or maybe something has happened in the past. You know that was engaged in some kind of a sinful habit or sinful behavior. Then you're always like, oh, why are you asking? Why are you checking on? There's fear. But when you're clean most of the time, you don't even think twice to check on, and they check on you. You say, oh, okay, I'm doing fine. I'm doing this. I don't even have in my mind, oh, when she says I'm at home, are you sure you're at home? I don't even ask those questions because the trust level is high.
Because
yes.
in the courtship period, you build trust.
Yes.
Even in the courtship period, you were banging everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, the moment you travel, things that because you were doing it everywhere, you are banging everywhere. But if in the courtship period you held yourself together, then trust has been built. The foundation is there.
Yeah.
The word check on is what I'm struggling with a little bit. I would say reconnecting.
Okay.
Reconnecting. Oh, I've not heard your voice today. How are you doing? I miss you. I thought I should drop a line. It's because I'm thinking of you. But some women may make it look like, where are you? The first question, where are you? If the man is not secure and he's only being like, why are you asking me that question?
And maybe it's in the wrong place.
When you answer, they'll say, are you sure?
Are you sure?
All right. So I have some questions from some of our viewers. This says, hello, good evening. Please, my question is, my husband always and almost all the time gets me wrong when we are having discussions. That's one. This has led to serious emotional effects on me. But he seems not to care so much about that. It's really affecting me. Due to that, I'm not able to discuss lots of issues that bother me. I'm always frustrated. These and many more are killing me. Please help me. Thanks. He always gets me wrong. He always gets me wrong, and I think he doesn't care about me.
If I may just make a quick one. I always push one rule for communication. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. So even if the person has said something, rehearse what she said and let her understand that this is what I said. Before you say, otherwise, while she's talking, you are thinking of what to say. And the better part of communication is listening. So if you seek to understand what the other party is saying, that alone is respect. And so when you understood me and now you are saying, that means that you've heard me. But if regularly I say something, you misconstrue it. When I'm coming to talk, I don't feel it's...
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. You call that active listening, where you, when you're talking to someone, from time to time, you rephrase the questions so that, yes, open-ended, so that you get the real gist of what the person is saying. So that she says, well, I was busy, I was doing this, I was doing all of this. Okay, did you say you were doing, you were washing and you were doing this and that before you went? Yes, then it's cleared. Then you can move on. But sometimes men don't take or spouses don't take the time to listen. It must be active listening where you forget about the answers. Because sometimes you are thinking, okay, how do I answer this person? How do I respond? No, listen in an active manner. Ask the right questions. Then you can now say, okay, I think this is it. But sometimes we don't wait. We don't wait. We just, as we hear the thing, you conclude in your mind that that's where she wants to land. And that's not where she wants to land.
Especially if it had happened before.
You see?
The same line of communication had happened before. You conclude that this is exactly where we are heading.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Yes.
Please,
That's right. Listen till the end. And then you can be able to make a proper decision.
I think some of these things depends on perception. Perception. The man has realized that my wife is like that. And therefore, he begins and the conclusion. So the lady should find out. There must, you see, normally communication depends a lot of respect, understanding, perception, who the person is, and that kind of thing. If there's mistrust already, normally you are saying one thing, but it's interpreted in another way. Perhaps if you ask the man, you say, no, what I perceive is what is so. So there might be a problem of perception of who the lady is or who the man. Perhaps you think he's proud, perhaps you think he has money, and therefore because of that, when he is talking, if that perception is dealt with, I think that problem can be solved.
Okay.
Not only is the perception, it is the general perception. Some men have concluded, like they are saying that women like talking. Women like this. Women do this. Women are like this. And that is the mindset of the man. So stereotypic. So this is how, though you start, and my mom was like that. My auntie was like that. My sisters were like that. So they conclude that their wife too is like that. So the moment the wife starts, they won't listen. It's not about being proud, but the perception. This is how women are. But if we would be open to change, to empathize with the woman, to wait till she concludes her point. No, people don't even wait for you to conclude your statement, the point you are trying to make. Then they jump into conclusion and they come in to judge you. So I think we all should be concerned that this, our marriage, is communication, good communication that will make it work. And we must flow through it.
Okay. So this is from Abigail from Takrady. She says, please, I think childbirth sometimes reduces communication between husband and wife, especially when the wife spends more time with kids than the husband. I suggest the wife should put the kids to sleep early and have some me and you time with her husband.
Is it a man talking?
It's a woman. Okay. It's a woman. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I think
any experience, personal experience?
Yes, I think I agree with her, because I admire what my first son does with the wife. They from babyhood to now, by 8 the child should be in bed, so that they can have some me and you time, because we are both doctors. We go out and we work so hard, so we should have some me time. It should be intentional. It is not like, I think if you give too much time to your children whilst they are growing up, when they grow up to adulthood, you would still have a problem gelling with your husband. You should not let the children come in between the two of you.
I would also like to add that maybe, let's say the woman is busy with the child and all of that, doing some stuff with the child. I think when we are talking about communication, it doesn't only mean you being there and talking.
Yeah.
You can just be there, presence. Presence is all part of the communication, letting the woman know that I am here for you.
Okay.
So just being there would help the lady. So I hope she's not just meaning talking, just having the us time, just chatting, but just being there, just your presence. She's busy, breastfeeding, but then you are just there watching and just,
How would it be like while she's bathing for the baby, breastfeeding the baby, you are there, you are doing it with the, can you give me this
towel?
Baby towel? Can you, then you're doing it together.
That's right.
When baby's asleep, you look for a little way, we don't know how to do it, but you massage her to relax her muscles. Just that, without any intention.
Without saying anything.
Without saying anything. It makes her know that you think about her. And the man is there, not like the man is separated in a corner. I think men should do better.
Yeah. I think that, like we are saying, for especially working couples, this idea of take of it should be done together. See, so that we have come and the child, and you are the woman. Please take care of the child. I'm doing something.
When you finish,
then when you finish, then no. You should also be interested in the child at every moment, whether he's asleep. In fact, there are times when the child is crying. You, the man, should take the child, put it in your hand, go around, let the child sleep, and come and put the child down there. So in that way, even in the taking care of the child, there will be a lot of communication.
So Neka says, good evening, counselors. God bless you for the great work you are doing. Please, how do you handle a situation where my husband says you are complaining whenever I express myself? He says I am arguing when I'm just trying to explain or to expand on an issue. This is really frustrating me and is putting a strain on the marriage. How do we improve our communication?
You see, some of these things, the truth is, your husband says you are complaining. For
Check
me,
yourself.
it is better to understand, so how do I change? But when it is like, I'm not complaining, he says I'm complaining, and it goes that one, the problem will never be solved. If your husband says you are complaining, then you must understand that the way you say it, that's how you interpret
The
it.
way you
Can I change it? Will I have said that, I didn't know that when I do this, it's complain. How can I do it? How can I? There are times after I separate, you can even tell her. The way I talk, I've been thinking, I'm just saying I'm complaining. Can you help me? How do you? Let me give you an example. This one you have said it. If you said it, you are complaining. You say you are not complaining. And so that. But if you are hard on your stand, no, I'm not complaining. You say I'm complaining. The problem will never be solved.
It's like when a man comes home, you are always late. You could.
That's language. You always.
You are always late.
Never.
It goes like this. Pointing. You are always late.
You never.
It's complaining.
All ladies say that. Why?
No. Don't generalize it.
Don't generalize.
Some men
That's
also
it.
say do that. I would say that. I would say that. Like you said, find a way to reframe what you want to say.
Yes.
Okay.
This you never, you always thing puts a facade up. Yeah. I would think that the man also must also know that when a woman is not happy about something, she wants to talk about it. When a man is not happy about something, he wants to be quiet and think about it. So if the woman is talking a lot about something, it could be that there is something she's not happy about. Sit down, let's talk.
Yes.
And tell your wife, when you come like you always, it doesn't help me. If you let me know, and even come with a good side, something good I've done, and after that, like God will do, you are good here, you are good there, however I have this against you. Say something good, I like you, you're very, without you in my life, I don't know where I would have been. However, the way you handle this thing, please, I'll be happy if you do it this way. Then you are not accusing, you are suggesting to him how you think it should be done. I think that's the way to do it.
All right. So I think time is
Yeah.
fast, man.
Okay.
But if you are watching us, we are glad to have you with us all the time with your questions. There are many questions. I'm sorry I couldn't read all of them. Next week, I'll come back and pick up your questions on communication. If you have other questions as well, send them to us. Sometime in the month, the latter part of the month, we'll tackle every other question outside communication in marriage. Forgive us that we could not go through your questions. Probably next week or the week after, we may open the phone lines for you to also call. But thank you once again. We'll come your way same time next week, Wednesday, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. I'm going to hand over to Bishop Emmanuel Akun to say a prayer, and then we can call it a night.
Shall we pray? Father, we thank you for this privilege to serve your people. For our deliberation tonight, I ask God that you pour your rain, the blessing of your spirit upon every thought tonight, and let it germinate and bring results in our hearers. And let every relationship that have heard us tonight and would ever hear this discussion be blessed and have a better relationship, fruitful relationships, and relationships that generation will learn from. We thank you for this privilege. Make it a success in the lives of people. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening. God bless you. Bye-bye.